This video we're going to look at operating systems. Now when you sit down at a computer and you turn it on and the screen glows and it asks you to sign in, you probably think that's your computer. But actually what you're looking at with that blue screen is something called the operating system. And there are lots. The computer is just the box behind it containing all the circuitry and the motherboard, but what you're looking at, that blue screen waiting for you to sign in, the operating system, is actually software, and you need that software to run on your machine to make it work. Now there are several versions. The one you're probably looking at on the school computer is Windows 10. Previously we've had Windows 7 and 8. What you're looking at now on the screen in this video with this nice sort of jutting out island, this is a Mac operating system. Now operating systems, there are lots of them, and generally if it's a Mac operating system then Mac software will run on it, but Mac software will not run on a Windows operating system. And the same thing happens. A Windows program or app on a Windows machine will not run on a Mac operating system. They're totally different. And we're going to look at that sort of as we go through this phase of the course. So operating systems, what are they? Well, as I've said, you've seen Windows. This is a Mac. They all do the same thing. They are really there to control your computer. They interact with you, which we call an interface. And this one, because it's got pictures on, is called a graphical user interface. And what you get is a mouse, which I'm just whizzing around on the screen. That's part of the interface. Then you get icons, such as the little blue folders here and the programs on the screen. And you get menus, so I can click and operate a menu. And some applications that when I double click on them, they run. Now that is what an operating system does. It allows you to communicate using a mouse with the computer. So let's take a look at some more. And I'm going to go through this quickly because I'm using a lot of my resources of the computer and possibly it will crash. First of all, let's take a look at the Android operating system. Now some of you may have Android phones, and I've got an Android device here. If I just turn it on, you'll see. And this is a real Android device, just as if I got the phone in my hand. This is the operating system. The operating system is called Android, and it works as per any other operating system. So I'm now accessing Chrome. If you can hear in the background, you might hear the fan of my computer actually whizzing, because there is a lot of memory being used, and it's getting really hot because I've got a lot of these operating systems. So I'm not going to play around with them too much. So this is an actual Android application working. I'm going to turn that off. This is an operating system. The only difference between this and sort of a Mac operating system is that it does not have a command line interface, which we shall look at in a bit. So let me just turn that off, power it down, and let me put another one on the screen. Just looked at the Android one. Let me take a look at this one. This one is an iPhone. So I've got the iPhone operating system here as well. So I click on the home button, you can see there we got an iPhone SE second generation, and it is a functioning iPhone. Okay, so there we go. We can send messages to people just as you would in an iPhone. So there we go. I'm sending message hello. Fantastic, job done. Go back to the main screen. There we go. So this is an operating system as well. So we've seen Android, now we've seen iOS. Both of these are dedicated to working on a phone. They do not contain command line interfaces. Now with that being said, what I'm going to do is shut them down because they're taking up a lot of my system resources, and it might stop me showing you further operating systems. So operating system Android, operating system iOS. They're both graphical user interfaces where, well, I've got a mouse, but normally you would use your fingers just to press on these. So let's shut that down and see if we can shut down the Android emulator as well. So if I close that, yeah, it's turning off and it's gone. So that's freed up a lot of space on my computer. The next thing I'm going to show you is a few more operating systems. This we will come to shortly. You need to know about this sort of application. This is called a virtual machine. So in other words, I've got a piece of software operating on my computer, and inside that software it allows me to run different operating systems. So on this one I've got at the moment Server 2003, Windows Server 2003. That's an operating system. Now it is a Windows operating system, and it differs from sort of the phone ones because it does have a command line interface that we can type in. So we've got two interfaces here. We've got the graphical user interface with the mouse pointing and clicking, and we've got a command line interface where we can type. So that is Windows Server 2003. The thing about Windows Server is it's really made for multiple users. So 30 or more users may be logged into this machine all at the same time. So let me just shut this down. And we'll move on to another operating system. So remember, Mac and Windows are completely different. They don't run the same apps. You might be able to get the same apps like Microsoft Word. You might get that for a Mac and you might get it in Windows, but you can't just switch them over. They would not work. In fact, that's one of the big points about operating systems, is that their file systems are different, but we'll deal with that later. So I'm just going to minimize this because while I'm waiting I want to start up what you're probably used to. Let's take a look at Windows 7. This is a single user version. Again, it's got a graphical user interface. When it fires up, I'm going to see if I can shut down one or two more programs while this is loading up, because they're taking up a lot of memory. So if I just sign in, and you'll see the familiar Windows 7 operating system with all its icons, the mice and the menus. And there we go. And again, this has a command line version. So if I type in here CMD, I get my command line that I can type commands. So I've got two interfaces here, command line and graphical user interface. So that's Windows 7. At the same time, well, I've just shut down Server 2003. I'm now going to start a Linux version called SUSE. So let me see if I can start the Linux version. This is a third operation. Oh, that didn't look good. So while we're waiting for the problem to resolve itself, you might have noticed that it gave me the chance of actually opening it as a command line interface. So this is Linux, the third kind. So you've seen Windows, the blue, the light blue. You've seen Mac at the background. Now we're going to see a Linux operating system. And Linux operating systems are more like a Mac than they are a Windows machine. There is the chance that programs that you write on the Mac will or could work on a Linux machine. But it's different again. A little bit of a smaller screen, but the menu is at the bottom, so I can, let's start Let's take a look at the file manager. There we go, we've got folders and we've got a very Mac looking menu system down the side. I'm just looking to see if we've got anything in here. So I can close that. Now this close button is very similar to the Windows close button, which is on the right hand side, top right hand side, but on a Mac they're actually on the top left hand side. This also should have a terminal. So if I can just find the terminal, or called console, so I can then type in commands. So again, Linux has a graphical user interface and a command line interface. So I think we've done enough with that one. Let's keep that one running and let's start this one again, which is Linux. Very similar to using a Raspberry Pi, Ubuntu. It's a very common operating system. There we go, it's starting up. Again, we have a graphic interface and we also have a command line interface with this. Just give it a few seconds. There we go. Try and remember my password. I think I managed. And again, we've got the windows that we open up, the mouse, the icons, and the menus. And if I take a look at my applications here, I've got a lot of applications. I don't want to do too many. I'm going to look for the terminal window. See if I can start a terminal up on this one. It's not as obvious as the other ones. Nope. And it's been a bit slow to boot, which I'm not surprised because I've now got what, Mac, Windows 7, SUSE Linux and Ubuntu Linux all running on the same computer. So I'm really really pushing the power boundaries of the computer that I've got. But all of these are operating systems. I'm going to close them down because I can hear my computer groaning under the strain. They're all operating systems. Apart from the phones, each one of these gives you a graphical user interface, and it also gives you a command line interface, and we can have lots. There's a whole host of Windows operating systems, from DOS, disk operating system, through Windows XP. In fact, before that there was Windows 95, then Windows 98, then Windows 2000, then Windows 7, then Windows 8, then Windows 10, and there's Windows 2003, the Server 2003. There's plenty of Linux operating systems, Ubuntu, SUSE, Raspbian, and then we've got Android, and we have iOS. The Mac operating system is just called OS X. So that's a quick introduction to all the operating systems and the fact that a virtual machine allows me to run a different computer on my computer. It's available in Windows and it's available in Mac. However, if you've got Windows, you will not be able to run a Mac virtual machine. You'll be able to run all the Windows or all the Linux ones, but not a Mac. Macs are a little bit different. So we'll look at what the operating system does in the next video.